pain is not the same as tissue damage. We can have a ton of pain and have absolutely positively beautiful scans. We can also have horrendous looking scans, and these people have no pain. So pain comes down to the brain's level of real or perceived threat. Your brain's job
Oh,
is to
interesting.
protect you.
This is the Viva View, the podcast that redefines mental health. I'm your host, Dr. Julie Lopez, and every month we will be destigmatizing mental health with the help of an inspiring guest. Our goal is to empower you in your mental well-being. So let's begin.
It is my incredible pleasure to welcome to the Viva View podcast, Jen Uschold. She has over 30 years experience as a physical therapist, but really I like to think of her as a guru in pain science and really working to move the world towards greater and greater mental fitness. Anyway, it's so great to be able to talk to you today, Jen.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be here and see where this conversation goes.
I love it. Well, before we even get started, I'd love to hear a little bit about your journey and how you ended up operating in this space. And of course, I big love the term mental fitness. I love it. I mean, we all obviously have mental health as part of our reality and our experience for a long time. For me, as a mental health practitioner, I noticed that mental health as a topic was a little bit stigmatized, but it's just a normal part of our everyday, every single human on the planet. And so I love the idea of fitness being paired with it because, of course, in the world of physical fitness, there's no shame in that game. Like you go to the gym, you exercise, nutrition, sleep, that is all exalted. And then you're like, oh, I'm going to see a therapist or I'm going to work on my mental health is like sometimes a little bit stigmatized. So I am all about reframing that. And I want to hear about your journey into this space.
I love how you said all of that. And thank you for promoting the term mental fitness because that is very accurate. People understand that we need physical fitness for life. We also need mental fitness for life. And there's different ways to do it. So we'll get into that a little bit later. I have been a PT for over 3 decades. And somewhere along the way, I got really curious about coaching. And that became a big presence in my life. And around that time, I started taking classes in pain science and learning about the non-pharmacological, non-surgical, non-injection ways that we can help people with pain. It truly blew my mind. My jaw was dropping almost every time when I was taking a class and learning more. And so from there, I just couldn't quite get enough. So then I did a close to 2-year fellowship to learn more about pain science. And shortly after that, I got exposed to positive intelligence, and that is where this mental fitness comes from. And again, my jaw was dropping every time I was taking these courses. And what really stood out to me is how the framework of pain science and all of the evidence that goes into it, and the premise of positive intelligence or mental fitness, and all that goes into it, there is so much crossover.
Oh
So
my
I
God.
was
Yes.
already having success with people with chronic pain. And now the ability to integrate the mental fitness is helping people to have even more success. And it's very cool because there are so many strategies. I am not the clinician who's going to tell you what to do. I am the clinician who's going to empower you with knowledge and choice and help you choose your own path.
And we all love that, right? We love agency, autonomy. I love it. And I can't wait to hear, and we all want to hear about all the jaw-dropping things you learned in your course. I know we won't have time for all of that today, but I do want to encourage you, if you're listening, to stay until the end because I know that Jen is going to share with us her 3 pillars of empowerment, I might say, that
Mhm.
help us navigate life transitions with ease and grace. And I love that. So I can't wait to hear what you're going to share with us at the end. But in the meantime, Tell me a little bit about what all of these jaw-dropping experiences were about and this overlay between positive intelligence, mental fitness, and pain science.
Yeah, so much of what I intuitively did as a new grad, I didn't know why I was doing it, and it turned out to be supported by science. And I didn't figure it out until I started doing this pain science work. I used to say that I think all of my clients from the first 5 years need to get a refund. And the only reason they got better is because I cared. Because clearly my clinical skills, nobody's clinical skills are that good their first 5 years out. So then as I start taking the pain science things, we start to learn about something called therapeutic alliance. We know that our relationship with our clients is more important than our skill. Is it Theodore Roosevelt? People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So I
Oh,
love
what a
that
great
quote.
quote. I love that quote.
I think it's Theodore Roosevelt. I hope it's Theodore Roosevelt. And so that I think is what helped me start success when I was younger. Yes, I've done lots of continuing education to build my physical therapy skills. And yet I still think that relationship was most powerful and helped me realize that these people did get better. And then in the fellowship, we spent an entire week just learning about trust. And our instructor got his PhD in trust, which blows my mind. And any guess how long it takes when you first meet someone for them to decide if they trust you or not? How long do you think it takes?
10 seconds. I'm not your usual. I don't know if that's true or not, but I do know that the first interactions are very critical in terms of how someone gets categorized in an experience.
You are correct. I can't do the math that quickly, so I'm just going to tell you the answer. 1/10 of 1 second.
1/10 of 1 second. I know it's very fast, but I'm not your typical audience because of all of my clinical training. I just know it's very, very critical, those first moments, very critical. And our
Yeah.
brain is, you know, more complex than our most complex supercomputer. We have all
Mhm.
these past experiences that very quickly file things for our safety and well-being. So I'm not
Yes.
surprised it's a short thing.
It's crazy. Yeah.
It's
And I
crazy, right?
think
But so critical.
one of the jaw-dropping moments for me, merging pain science and mental fitness, is this idea in our pain world, we talk about how we have these different sensors in our body. We do not have pain nerves. We do not have pain sensors. We have danger sensors, which send information up to your brain. And if your brain perceives a threat, it could be a real threat or a not real threat, that's when you will feel pain. We also have sensors that respond to stress in our bodies and respond to temperature. And I love to explain temperature this way. 50 degrees in September feels really, really cold, right? Because we've been used to 90 or 100, depending on where you live,
For us here on the East Coast.
right? 50 degrees in March feels downright balmy. And so people are streaking off their sweatshirts and wearing shorts, but 50 is 50. And the reason that it feels different is because of the ratio of these temperature sensors.
Mm.
So these sensors are both biologically coded and influenced by our environment. In the mental fitness framework, broadly, negative emotions are housed in the left side of your brain, specific structures, we won't get into that. And broadly, positive emotions are housed in the right side of our brain. In this left side, we have 10 characters or saboteurs. We all have a judge of self, judge of others, judge of even circumstances, getting mad at the world because you spilled your coffee. And then there is the controller
I can
saboteur.
relate to that.
That is the judge of circumstance rearing its ugly head. And then there's 9 others, but an example is the controller, the avoider, someone who is hyper rational. And so, in that framework, the science that's gone into that, we know that we are all born with saboteurs. So, there is a piece that is environmentally, biologically coded. We also know our saboteurs are environmentally sculpted. Depending on the house you grew up in, you don't have to have a horrible household. You're still going to develop saboteurs as a survival strategy. The challenge that we have, whether it is someone dealing with chronic pain or over dominance of their saboteurs, your nervous system is doing its job. It's just doing it too well. So in both frameworks, we are working with clients to help their nervous system come back to baseline, and we're helping the saboteurs to quiet so you can tap into your greatest strengths more easily.
So let me make sure that I'm following. So I think what I hear you saying is that regardless of circumstance or regardless of fact, kind of like the temperature, 50 is 50, that other factors may actually influence how you're experiencing your life, your day, your body, your level of stress, whatever it may be. And that there is a way, regardless of relativity, to help your system go back to neutral, where 50 is just 50. Is that right?
Yes. And a great way to help your listeners understand that is, let's imagine that you sprain your ankle and you are on vacation. It's this beautiful place, and you still have 4 or 5 more days left in your vacation. Your ankle's probably going to hurt. Now, let's take the exact same mechanical ankle sprain. You're in a job, you've already worked a 14-hour shift, you're abused by your boss, you hate your job, you get paid minimum wage. Is your ankle pain going to be the same? Likely not, because our environment influences pain. We even have studies that show that different cultures have a different response to pain.
Oh,
The
interesting.
Asian cultures tend to be more stoic. So, as a clinician, I need to be aware of that so that I can ask better questions to get a better understanding of what their experiences are. Some cultures tend to be more expressive. And so, understanding these things and how it really influences the nervous system helps us help our clients better.
Because you're saying that by using a lot of the science that you've studied for over 30 years, you can actually help people change the way that they experience pain. Is that right?
Pain is an experience, pain is information, and we always get to decide what to do with that. So, that is such a great lead in. Another really good example is, let's take a 3-year-old who's walking down the sidewalk, they fall and skin their knee. They look to mom or dad or the babysitter first. And whatever that person's reaction is how the child is going to follow suit. So the child may or may not have tissue damage. They may or may not have scraped their knee. But if mom or dad is like, hey, let's go, we're ready, we're almost at the park, or mom and dad is rushing to their side, oh my goodness, are you okay? Look at this tiny little scrape. It's going to influence the pain they feel.
So interesting. This has all kinds of incredible implications, especially when you have been talking about a passion for helping people ease through life transitions. And don't we know we all have tons of them? We have them all the time, whether we're graduating from a program or we're changing our living situation or we're changing jobs or having transitions with friends. It goes on and on. I mean, life is really just a series of all kinds of transitions. So I'm so fascinated by what you're sharing. And I'm also thinking about one of the real passions around this podcast is helping people feel more empowered and be more empowered with how to use the wisdom of their body for their joy and their well-being. So I love the implications that this could have in people's lives.
Yes, absolutely. It's fascinating work, and it's fun to watch people shift. And you've used the word empower a couple of times. I have a metaphor, visual that I like to describe the work to people. It's, imagine for a moment that you and I are on a very rocky beach, and there's a lighthouse in the
Oh,
distance.
I was hoping it would be a beach.
It is a beach. I love that. And there's a lighthouse that we want to get to. So now we need to choose a direction, right? We need to be heading towards the lighthouse. However, the path we take, there are infinite options for the path we take. Maybe you want to walk in the sand. Maybe I want to walk on the big rocks, like skipping rocks, or maybe I want to walk and wade in the water. There's no right or wrong way for us to get to the lighthouse, yet we need to have the knowledge and the strategies and our direction in order to create our path.
Yeah. And so you end up using that type of metaphor in the work that you provide, because I know you have a number of different programs that have to do with, I guess, mitigating the pain experience or helping to use what you know about the body to navigate those types of experiences. Is that how that's relevant
I
here?
Yeah, I do use that metaphor with clients so that they understand the broad piece of choice. Again, I'm definitely not the clinician to say you must do this, you must do that, and I'm also integrating lifestyle medicine with the pain science. So if a client really is struggling with sleep, which has a big impact on pain, and they're not ready to address their sleep, it does me no good. It does our relationship no good, and certainly them no good for me to say, you must get your dog out of your bed. You must go to bed at 10 p.m. However, if they are curious about boosting their nutrition and they're like, you know what, I'll stop drinking at 6 o'clock, or, I won't eat heavy carbs before I go to bed. This is when we can start to get a little action in the gears because they're all connected like gears. So when we get motion in one, then we can create motion in another. And maybe in a few weeks, then they're ready to start tackling sleep. And so this is where the power of choice is so important. And in the pain science framework, we have four main pillars that are all evidence based, and they are education, sleep, exercise, and goals to help people get out of pain. But we also have the PNE Plus program, which is 22 more evidence based strategies to help people ease pain. And when
What
we
is
have
the PNE? What is the PNE? What does that stand for?
pain neuroscience education,
Oh, cool. Pain neuroscience education. Wow, it sounds like a lot is in there. And it sounds a little bit complicated, but I love the whole idea around having tools within the body. When you say neuroscience, right, that lights me up, right? There's stuff going on in the body that you can actually tap into and leverage to change your felt experience. Is that right?
yes. So I like to tell my clients we exercise the body to benefit your body and your brain. We exercise your brain to benefit your body and your brain. And while pain neuroscience education might sound complex and overwhelming, we are taking these complex concepts and helping people understand them through stories. I love to do some of the stories in podcasts. Would you like to go through a story?
Yes, let's do it.
All
I
right,
love
this is
that.
one of our most popular stories. It's called the sensitive alarm story. So, Julie, if
Yes.
you were to step on a rusty nail, would you want to know?
If it was rusty,
Would you want to know that you've stepped on a rusty nail?
wouldn't I know it because it had gone through my skin and all that stuff?
Are you glad to know it?
Am I glad to know that I stepped on a rusty nail rather than not know?
Mm-hmm.
I think that, yeah, I think for me, I would rather know.
Yeah, we want to know because you want to get the nail out. You want to make sure your tetanus is up to date. So, pain is information. And
Yeah.
so then we get to decide what to do with that information. Now, your nervous system broadly is brain, spinal cord, and 400 nerves. And those 400 nerves are connected like a big crazy highway. So I like to say here where we are in Northern Virginia, Baltimore is about 45 miles from us. So if we were to lay your nerves end to end, we could get you to Baltimore. Now, all of those nerves have a little bit of a buzz in them all the time. And when you step on the nail, it is not yet pain because we don't have pain nerves and we don't have pain sensors. It goes up to the brain for processing. And if the brain perceives a threat, you will feel pain. So pain is 100% of the time an output of the brain. Now, would you agree that it's going to take a few days for your foot to feel better?
Yes.
Yeah. So that is the normal way the physiology of the nervous system works. It takes longer to get to baseline than it does to go off in the first place, which is really good because you don't want to have your hand on a hot stove for 3 days before you feel it. Now, along the way, right, you might take a step and feel your heel. You're not causing additional damage. You are feeling the pain because all pain is real. It's just that the nervous system is still doing its job of getting back to baseline. So the challenge we have is that about 1 in 4 people, it doesn't get back to baseline. So it stays elevated. So if you used to be able to run 5 miles and your nervous system is at this elevated place, you may get pain after walking half a mile or jogging a quarter of a block. And so the job and the work of the pain neuroscience education is to bring that sensitivity down. What's very cool.
Can I interrupt super
Please
quick? Because I'm
do.
thinking about a friend who ended up, he's a beast. He's like a super athlete. And he was doing like one of those tough mudder, like long, athletic, competitive type things. And it was a full body. It wasn't just running. It was like crawling and climbing and doing all these crazy.
And he broke his arm in the midst of it.
And he found that out afterwards. And yeah, he made it through that. Could he have been trained somehow with some of these pain receptors or being able to? I don't even know. It's just making me think about the elite or maybe some of the movies, like the Jason Bourne movies, where someone is doing something pretty incredible that you imagine would cause someone else to be in pain, but they're moving nonetheless. I don't know if it's related.
It is related. We're going to come back to that in a moment.
Okay.
And just a reminder, we don't have pain receptors. We only have these danger sensors that send the information up to the brain. So 1 in 4 people, it doesn't come back down. We also have research on, well, why did my neighbor's nervous system get back to baseline? Why do I still have pain 2 years after my back surgery? And this is called yellow flags. This is the work of somebody named Kendall, a researcher. And we know that things going on in our lives have the ability to raise the sensitivity of our nervous system, bringing us closer to that threshold where your brain will create the pain. Those things include family issues, financial issues, job issues. We're going to add COVID in there, ongoing pain. And so all of these things can contribute to that sensitivity. And so,
Mm.
what was I going to say? Oh, another way to understand this is that pain is not the same as tissue damage. We can have a ton of pain and have absolutely positively beautiful scans. We can also have
Mm.
horrendous looking scans, and these people have no pain. So, pain comes down to the brain's level of real or perceived threat. Your brain's job
Oh,
is
interesting.
to protect you. So we can talk again about a sprained ankle. You sprain your ankle on a sidewalk, you're probably going to, limp, hurt, be in pain. You sprain your ankle walking across the street, and out of the corner of your eye, you see a bus hurling at you. It does not serve you in your survival to feel that pain. You will likely not feel pain because your brain is having to choose Julie's survival, sprained ankle, bus, sprained ankle, bus. It's going to choose the bus. Then
Yeah.
when you get to the other side of the street, now your brain's going to be like, hey, can you take care of this ankle, please? So this is similar to your friend who did the mutter race, right? In that moment, the brain's like, we got more important things to do. We got to get through this obstacle. And then after the race, he's like, holy cow, what is going on? So that's
Yeah.
how we can potentially explain that, along with all of the chemicals that are being released in endorphins in that event. So
You know
another,
what
yeah,
oh, go ahead. You know,
I love to describe it this way to clients and even on podcasts. If you have a house alarm we want your alarm to go off if a brick goes through the window. Would we agree?
Yes, for
Yes.
sure.
So what if somebody messes with the sensitivity of your alarm and your house alarm goes off when a leaf hits the window?
Right. We don't want that happening. But I'm also thinking about all the people who have that really frustrating. And this was last month's podcast. We talked a bit about how people can have very real feelings, right, about what's going on and it's changing their life, but they're not getting the validation from a medical test that says, oh, you have this or you have that, and how there are lots of different ways to work with that. It's making me think about the disconnect between the two.
Yes, because tissues and pain are two different things, and all pain is real. But if
Yeah,
we go back to this house alarm, right? If the leaf hits the window, your house is okay. So
right.
it's possible that I ask my clients, is your body, is your house okay? And it's the sensitivity of the nervous system alarm that we need to focus on, not the back, not the ankle, not the knee. And to your
Right.
point, all pain is real, but it's not sourced in the tissues necessarily. And
And
that's
that's good
important.
news, right? Because I think what you're saying is you end up working to recondition the brain so the alarm sensitivity is down.
Yes, but we are using the body and the brain. It's not just brain work. We are
Right.
doing lots of physical things to enhance the safety of the nervous system as well.
Cool. I love that. Well, this is so great because what it really makes me think about is again how incredibly vast and resourced our human system is, and that we can pull and push these different levers to really feel great in our day to day and do the things that we want to do. So I think it's that time, Jen. I've really enjoyed listening to you, but I want our readers to hear about your three pillars and something they can take with them as things to live by that could help them guide them in this navigation that we all have around transitions and managing them with ease.
Yes, I love that. So the phrase is empower you, and our three
Love
pillars
that.
are the E, the M, and the P. And the E stands for education. We really can't be successful in anything unless we have education. I don't know about you, but I don't want anyone doing surgery on me that hasn't had a lot of education
Oh,
and
yes.
practice and
Yes.
repetition. And so the M stands for movement. We have super great science that shows us when we get blood flow and movement into our nervous system, the sensitivity of the nerves calms down. Our nervous system only weighs 2 to 3% of our body weight, but it takes 25% of our blood. So
Oh,
movement
wow.
is key. And then the P stands for positive intelligence, which is harnessing our mental fitness, learning how to shift our brain to be our friend far more often than our enemy. And that is how we empower you.
Oh my gosh, I love it. You know me as like the brain science nerd. I love that last one, especially like moving what's happening in your brain to empower you. I love it. And Jen, thank you so much for being here today. If you want to hear more about Jen, we're going to share a whole bunch of her resources. She's got some really cool programs. And most importantly, she gets real changes for her clients and does that in all these cool and innovative ways, leveraging the leading science. Anyway, Jen, thank you so much for being a guest today and helping us empower all of our listeners.
Thank you. Let's just keep spreading the ripple of empowerment. Thank
I
you.
love it. All right. Thanks for being here. Thank you for tuning in today. We hope you enjoyed our deep dive into mental fitness and the fascinating world of pain science. Please be sure to check out all of Jen's great resources and her programs and all the great work that she's involved in to help people feel more empowered around how to navigate life's many, many transitions with ease. Be sure to join us next month for more great conversations about how to be empowered in your life and how to leverage your mental health for your benefit. As always, visit www.vivapartnership.com to access our free and low-cost resources that will empower you in your healing journey. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help us redefine mental health, I'd like to invite you to share, subscribe, and consider leaving a rating and review. Let's redefine mental health together and end the stigma surrounding it.